Welcome everyone to the Gavel. I'm Terry Ikumi. The National Assembly resumed plenary for just one day in this past week after 6 weeks of holidaying and adjourned till the 3rd of October. But it was quite eventful on Tuesday regardless. So let's begin with the upper chamber, which confirmed the appointment of Mr. Yemi Cardoso, CBN governor nominee, and 4 deputy governors as nominated by President Bola Tinubu. The entire process lasted for about 3 hours, during which questions were asked and answers given. Now, the newly appointed governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Mr. Yemi Cardoso, says his principal mandate is to make the Nigerian economy a $1 trillion economy in 8 years. The Senate president, on his part, urged Mr. Cardoso and his deputies to address the many challenges bedeviling the monetary policy sector in the country. So here's a report. The Senate resumed its annual vacation and immediately got down to business as the President of the Senate read official communications from President Bola Tinubu.
Approval and nomination of the underlisted persons as the members of the Niger Delta Development Commission Board and its executive management written against their respective names. A copy of Mr. President's approval is here to attach. Chief Chedu Ebie, nominated chairman from Delta State. Dr. Samuel Obuku, nominated Managing Director CEO from Bayelsa State. Mr. Boma Iyaye, nominated Executive Director of Finance and Administration from Rivers State. Mr. Victor Antai, nominated Executive Director of Projects from Akwa Ibom State. The other members, both from the oil-producing states and the zonal representatives, are as follows. Senator Dimaro, Bayelsa State. Mr. Nkono, Akwa Ibom State. Right Honorable Monde Ibuya from Delta State. Chief Tony Okocha from Rivers State. Honorable Patrick I. Zowiren from Edo State. Mr. Kirian Uchebu from Imo State. Honorable Otito Thompson Atikesa from Ondo State. Chief Jimpa Eruba from Abia State. Right Honorable Orok Otu Duke from Cross River State. For the North Central, Honorable Nick Wende. For the Northeast, Honorable Namdas Abdul Rasak. From the Northwest, Senator Dr. Ibrahim Abdullahi Gobre. Please note that the immediate past Managing Director CEO, Dr. Samuel Obuku, was reappointed for a second term and will remain in acting capacity until the Senate concludes its confirmation hearings.
The request by President Tinubu for confirmation of the newly appointed governor of the Central Bank and 4 deputy governors was also read.
In compliance with the provisions of Section 8, Subsection 1 of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN Establishment Act 2007, I am pleased to present to the distinguished Senate the underlisted 5 nominees for confirmation as governor and deputy governors of the Central Bank of Nigeria.
But first, the Senate goes into an executive session for some housekeeping.
A motion has been moved by the leader of the Senate, seconded by the minority leader, that this chamber do resolve into a closed session to handle some pressing discussions.
Over an hour later, the doors are thrown open and a motion is moved by the Senate leader for the nominees to be allowed into the chamber.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, in order to carry out this exercise in conformity with our Standing Order 12 on floor privileges, I will move a motion that the Senate do admit the special advisor to the President on National Assembly matters, the nominees, and other officials into the Senate chamber.
The screening process begins with introductions.
My name is Olayemi Cardoso. I was born 10th of July 1957. I'm an indigene of Lagos State. I'm born to parents of Brazilian descent in Popo Aguda. I attended primary school at Corona School, Ikoyi, and I went on to do my secondary school at St. Gregory's College, Lagos. My professional career began in the vibrant city of London, working with Howard Tilly & Co. Chartered Accountants. Little did I know that this would be the first step in a lifelong journey that would take me to places I could only dream of. In 1981, Citibank, one of the world's largest financial institutions, recognized my potential and invited me to join their ranks.
My early years in primary and secondary school were spent in Kaduna State, in Essence International School. I completed a bachelor's degree in economics at Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria. I proceeded to also complete a master's in international affairs and diplomacy in ABU Zaria. Subsequently, I completed a master's degree in development economics and policy at the University of Manchester in the United Kingdom. I am currently rounding up a PhD in Henley Business School at the University of Reading.
I am a seasoned banker with 2 decades of banking experience, cut across various aspects of banking. I started my banking experience from a very humble beginnings, working as a customer service officer and growing into the ranks up to executive director in August 2022 with the United Bank for Africa. In addition to that, we're able to grow customer base, improve revenue, and increase market share. Part of the things that we did very well was to take banking to the rural areas in line with the CBN initiative of financial inclusion.
I've had a diverse banking career over 30 years. I started my banking career with Nigerian American Merchant Bank, which was a subsidiary of Bank of Boston. I was trained in Boston for 6 months as a loan officer. Thereafter, I joined Merchant Banking Corporation, which was a subsidiary of Bank of Paribas then. Spent a good 6 years plus with Merchant Banking Corporation before moving on to EcoBank. In EcoBank, I had 2 roles as the General Manager, Institutional Banking, and also later served as the Pioneer Managing Director of EcoBank Kenya.
I obtained my Bachelor of Science degree in accounting from Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, and also an MBA from the same institution. I've successfully completed the High Potential Leadership Program, Harvard Business School, Boston, Massachusetts, United States of America, and I've also completed the Executive Development Program as a young professional at the Wharton Business School, Philadelphia, in the US as well. I also hold a certificate in Operations Leadership from the Richard Ivey School of Business, University of Western Ontario, Canada, as well as a Portfolio Management Certificate from the New York Institute of Finance.
The Senate President then yields the floor to senators to ask the nominees questions, and a number of them raised concerns about the state of the economy.
What are you going to do in the short time, middle time, and long time purposes to rescue Naira? Because Naira is finished. Somebody told me it's already 1,000. So if I have 100,000 Naira, I can't even buy the dollar. That's what it means. So what are you going to do? I don't want you to be a yes. Will you be able to tell the president this is wrong? I will not do it. You must tell the Senate that you will be able to do that. Because you must be able to tell the president, no, this is wrong, I will not do it. I would rather resign than to do this.
I am suspicious of people whose main background come from commercial banking. Because central banking is about policy. It's not about marketing. It's not about seeking profit. It's about getting monetary policies right with clear focus on specific microeconomic objective. Whether it is job creation, stabilizing a price regime, exchange rate regime, inflation regime, all of that. When listening to the CVs, people who have managed banks that have gone into liquidation, that cannot be used as positive in their favor. The truth has to be told. I am not suggesting that any one of them is responsible. I'm saying a doctor who parades the number of people who died under his care cannot forward that to me as a CV for me to appoint him as a Surgeon General.
If we don't work on weak variables, how do we recover the economy? If what you have today is 7% cash, 93% of your cash is already arrested. You have 7% cash to work with. How do you do that? Capital project is 70%. The current is 30%. You're already on negative of 67%. What do you want to do?
I want you to look at importation. Everybody goes to CBN for importation left and right. I will want a situation where we can put a caveat on every demand of forest to sign a memorandum of understanding with EFCC or any of our institutions for them to have a code that grants the agency to verify, and everything that relates to that importation will have that code, will have that number, so that people will not be recycling our forests.
There are two very important issues that we would have to address when and if we are nominated by these hallowed chambers. Number one, it is that of what I would term an operational issue. Right now, you have a situation where, and we all know this, we can argue about the figures, the numbers, but we are aware that there are unsettled obligations by the central bank. We are aware there are unsettled obligations. Whether it's 4 billion, 5 billion, 7 billion, I don't know. But definitely the immediate priority will be to be able to verify the authenticity and the extent of what is owed. Number two, apart from the operational, there's one that is more system related. And that involves ensuring that we come up with rules that are open, that are transparent, and that any of the players in that business understands.
I think it's important to point out, like Mr. Cardoso had mentioned, that this central bank is going to strengthen governance and follow monetary policies as its lead, because we are lucky that under this new administration, we have a very strong Ministry of Finance, because Ministry of Finance is responsible for fiscal policies and the central bank for monetary. So a lot of these interventions, as is done everywhere else in the world, is on the fiscal side. Central bank's job is to drive the policies that will maintain price stability, control inflation, and exchange rates.
Satisfied with the presentations and responses of the nominees, after almost 3 hours, the Senate confirms their nominations.
Now, will the Senate confirm the nomination of Olayemi Cardoso for appointment as governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria? Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The nomination of Olayemi Cardoso is hereby confirmed as governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria.
Welcome back to the Gavel. Let's move to the lower chamber now, where the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Honorable Abbas Tajuddin, in his speech upon resumption of plenary, urged the organized labor to shelve the planned strike, as the House would intervene in the disputes between labor and the federal government. He appealed to the labor unions to consider the actions taken by government to address the economic situation in the country. Meanwhile, the House of Representatives waded into the death of Afrobeat singer Ireolua Aloba, better known as Mohbad, whose death sparked reactions from almost every part of the country and also caught the attention of international media organizations. It's a full house as plenary resumes in the Green Chamber after a 6-week break.
I'm excited to warmly welcome you.
The Speaker welcomes his colleagues with a speech as he highlights the role of Parliament in addressing the various concerns across the country.
Honorable colleagues, our economic challenges remain as daunting as they were before the recess. The country is challenged on several economic fronts. Cost of living crisis occasioned by high cost of energy, cost of food is skyrocketing daily. Lack of livable wages, the negative effects of the unpredictable and fluctuating foreign exchange rates, a disappearing middle class, and a host of other issues. When people are hungry and despondent, what is needed is a leadership with a clear vision, a leadership that on a daily basis demonstrates its commitments and capacity to tackle the challenges at hand. A leadership that should be innovative in providing short and long-term solutions. This is what Nigeria needs at this time, and as representatives of the people, we must rise up to these very occasions. While the executive arm of government is engaging the citizens and trying to work out strategies to tackle the hardship in the country, our legislative actions must therefore be directed by a clear, robust vision aimed at supporting the executive in restoring our citizens on the path of prosperity. We must deploy the necessary legislative instruments to create jobs, ensure payment of living wages in the civil service, pull Nigerians out of poverty, address the prevailing infrastructural deficit, rid the country of crippling insurgency, ensure the security of lives and property, and affordable functional education so that no child is left behind.
The Speaker seizes the moment to appeal to the organized labor on its planned nationwide strike action in protest of the economic situation of the country.
The organized labor under the aegis of Nigerian Labour Congress seems to have lost patience with the painstaking effort of the government to plan and provide sustainable minimum wage and palliatives to citizens. The organized labor, it appears, would embark on a nationwide strike following the expiration of a 21 days ultimatum issued to government. As the people's representatives, we feel and equally share in the pains of our people at these very difficult times. However, I would like to appeal to the Nigerian Labour Congress to consider the various actions being taken by the federal government to alleviate the current hardship faced by Nigerians. As promised earlier, this House remains committed to getting a survival wage to all Nigerian workers. The 10th House had assured Nigerians there would be interfacing between the organized labor and the government to quickly work out a realistic new national minimum wage. And as such, other palliatives to enable citizens cope with the economic impact of fuel subsidy removal, the downward fall of the naira to the dollar, skyrocketing cost of food, and general high cost of living in the country. It is in our considered opinion that embarking on a nationwide strike at this point will only aggravate an already bad situation. I therefore urge the leadership of labor unions to give us the benefit of doubt and suspend any planned strike action while we engage the executive.
Next, the House considers a motion of urgent national importance from Honorable Babajimi Benson on the circumstances surrounding the death of his constituent, Afrobeat singer Ireolua Aloba, better known as Mohbad, who died 2 weeks ago at the age of 27.
The House is further disturbed that most of the proceeds of the late artist are still going to the Malian music group, and there have been no moves from any agency to protect the estate of the late singer, who is currently the 46th best-selling digital artists in the world. Accordingly, and the prayers are, sir, urges the House to observe 1 minute silence. 2, monitor the ongoing investigation of Mohbad's death, particularly the allegations of harassment and unpaid royalties. Collaborate with stakeholders, including record labels, artists, legal experts, and industry associations to develop and implement industry-wide guidelines that ensure fair treatment, transparent contractual agreements, and proper compensation for artists. Reviewing existing copyright and contract laws in Nigeria, identifying gaps or areas in need of reform.
The House then observes a minute of silence in honor of the late singer, as it also resolves to review copyright and contracts laws. On Constituency Focus this week, we had a chat with Honorable Sesi Wingan. He represents Badagry Federal Constituency of Lagos State in the House of Representatives to find out how he intends to engage with members of his constituency in the next 4 years, especially his level of awareness of their needs and his plans for them.
In 2015, I came back to my constituency to see how I can contribute my own quota to the growth and development of my constituency. I started by opening up a center where we run our foundation. We started with few projects. In 2016, we renovated a whole health center. It's called Pota Health Center for the people of the community. And also after that, we looked into some few issues that we have in the constituency. So I decided to come in by fixing some few roads. There are so many communities that were cut off that people couldn't even reach. You see students working in water to access the basic education that they are entitled to. So we decided to build some few bridges just to connect communities. After that as well, we opened a center when they were struggling in the entire constituency to register for their NIN. They couldn't have access to their bank applications. They couldn't have access to whatever they have in their. We opened up a center where we were doing free NIN. And so far, between 2018 till date that we opened the center, I can tell you that we registered more than 60,000 people. And at the same time, out of those people, we had buses that were moving them from communities to the center and moving them back to their communities. My plan is to see how we can facilitate some few projects like hospitals to some few communities who don't have access to basic health. I also intend to see how we can facilitate schools to few communities that do not have. We see some kids traveling kilometers just to access basic education. I feel that is unnecessary, and that is something that I can address. So I intend to see how we can facilitate schools to these communities just to make education closer, bring education closer to our people. Aside from that, we want to empower our youth. We want to empower our women. We want to empower our old ones. The kind of empowerment that I propose is not the empowerment that we do just for political sake. We want to genuinely empower them, see how we can bring in projects that will build their capacity, how we can bring in projects that will enhance them, and see how they can enhance them and contribute back to the community and also contribute to their own daily livelihood. Like I say to the few ones that cares to listen in my constituency, the federal government is not going to employ everyone. We cannot wait for the federal government to generate employment for us. So we decided to come together and see how we can build our own capacity, how we can get our youths skill, get them skill that that can fetch them their own source of livelihood.
And that's The Gavel. Thanks for your time. Remember to send feedback to thegavel@channelstv.com. I'm Terry Ikumi. Goodbye.